I followed her that night. She said it was just a work meeting, but I watched her step into room 418 with her red dress barely zipped. And 5 minutes later, that same dress was lying on the floor, next to her co-worker's shoes. My phone buzzed in her purse. She didn't answer, because she was too busy lying on someone else's bed. I didn't scream. I didn't chase. I recorded everything, and then I planned something no one saw coming. Not her, not him, not even her boss. You see, I've spent 7 years building a quiet life with her. She spent 7 minutes tearing it apart. But what happens next? That's where the real story begins. And trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. They say the little things are what matter most. Well, that's exactly what tipped me off. It started with a change in her schedule. Linda always got home by 6. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she'd cook meatloaf or chicken pot pie, pour a glass of wine, and tell me about her day. It wasn't flashy, but it was ours. Then one Tuesday, she came home at 8. No wine, no smile, just a quick work ran late and a kiss on the cheek. I didn't think much of it until it became a pattern. The following week, same excuse. Thursday night, she forgot to call me entirely. I heated up frozen lasagna alone and stared at the empty seat across the table. That weekend, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the nightstand. 3 messages, all from Eric D. One was just 3 red hearts, another said, "Can't wait for next time." Now, I'm not the jealous type. I've been married to Linda for 7 years. She's smart, beautiful, and confident, and I trusted her, probably too much. But I'm also not stupid, so I asked real calm, "Hey honey, who's Eric D?" She didn't flinch, just smiled and said, "Oh, he's a new guy in the marketing department, kinda annoying actually." Then she changed the subject. That should have been the end of it, right? Except that little voice in my gut wouldn't let go. Something was off, and when a man's gut tells him something's wrong, he better start listening. And that's when I decided, if there's nothing to hide, then she wouldn't mind a little camera in her car. I'll tell you what I saw on that footage, and why it changed everything. Have you ever ignored a gut feeling and paid the price? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. I wasn't looking to spy. I just wanted peace of mind, so I did what any man with half a toolbox and a whole lot of suspicion would do. I installed a small dash cam under the rearview mirror and hid a voice recorder in her purse. Simple setup, nothing fancy, just enough to hear and see if my gut was right, or if I owed her an apology. Thursday came. She kissed my cheek and said, "Late meeting tonight, don't wait up." That night, I poured myself a bourbon, sat in the garage, and waited. The garage is my quiet place where I think clear, and by 10:23 p.m., her car finally rolled back in. She walked in all smiles, said, "Meeting ran over, sorry, babe." I nodded, kissed her forehead, and told her I was heading to bed early. But the truth is, I stayed up. Laptop open, camera connected. What I saw made my stomach drop. The video showed her pulling into the Hilton parking lot at 6:41 p.m. A black Audi pulled in behind her. Same plates I'd seen once outside her office when I brought her lunch. Eric D. They walked in together, not side by side, but close, too close. She was smiling, tossing her hair back, touching his arm like they were old flames. And then the audio kicked in. She laughed in a way I hadn't heard in years. A soft giggle like a woman trying to impress someone new. He said, "Red looks good on you." She answered, "I wore it for you." I paused the video right there. Hands shaking, heart pounding, 7 years of memories undone by 7 seconds of footage. In the next part, I'll tell you what I did with that video, and why confronting her too soon would have been the biggest mistake of my life. Ever held onto proof but waited for the perfect moment to use it? Tell me about it below. I'll be reading. You know what's funny? The Hilton was only 3 miles from our house. I used to drive past it on the way to work, never giving it a second thought. Now, it was the place where everything changed. I didn't confront her that night, didn't scream, didn't throw the laptop across the room, no. I just stared at the screen, rewinding the moment her hand slipped into his. The next day, I took a half day off work, drove to the Hilton, paid for a copy of her receipt, room 418, checked in under a fake name, asked the front desk if that room had any issues. The girl said, "Actually, someone left a red dress behind last night. Housekeeping still got it." That red dress, the same one she wore on our anniversary last year, said it made her feel like a queen. Now it was balled up in a plastic laundry bag, smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. I walked out, calm as a lake, but inside, I was boiling. That night, I waited until she was in the shower. I opened her phone. Yes, I knew the passcode. And there it was. A text from Eric. "Next time, let's skip dinner. Room 418 was perfect." She had replied with a wink emoji. No words, just that smirk. I turned off the phone and sat on the edge of the bed, let it all soak in. It wasn't just the affair, it was the effort, the planning, the laughing, the lies wrapped in perfume and hotel pillows. I wasn't losing a wife, I was losing the woman I thought she was. Next, I'll tell you about the one person who helped me turn this heartbreak into a plan. A plan that would tear down more than just a marriage. It would shake the whole company. You ever been betrayed so deep? You started planning your next move in silence? Drop a comment. You're not alone. I didn't want revenge, I wanted clarity. But clarity for men like me sometimes means letting go, and sometimes means fighting smart. So I called an old name my boss once mentioned during his messy divorce. Scarlett Jennings. Now, Scarlett wasn't your typical lawyer. She didn't do billboards or cheesy commercials. She worked off referrals only. If she took your case, it meant you were serious. I showed up to her office early Saturday. No receptionist. Just her, mid-40s, sharp eyes, black suit, hair tied back like she meant business. She looked at me, then said calmly, "If you're here to cry, go home. If you're here to win, sit down." I sat, told her everything, the meetings, the messages, the hotel, the red dress, the wink. She never once looked shocked. Instead, she reached into her desk and pulled out a notepad. "You said Eric works with her, right?" she asked. I nodded. "And that they work in the same department?" "Marketing," I answered. She smirked. "Then you're not the only one." Turns out Scarlett had a list. Other men, other marriages, same office, same Eric. She pulled out a manila folder full of screenshots, emails, even a few depositions. One name stood out, Herbert Chandler, a soft-spoken analyst whose wife also worked in marketing and had mysteriously started working late, too. Scarlett said, "If we're smart, we don't just go after the cheaters, we go after the company. Create enough pressure, and everything collapses from the inside." I didn't say a word. I just nodded. This wasn't about getting even anymore. It was about showing them what happens when they pick the wrong man. Next up, I'll introduce you to Herbert and tell you how we turned quiet pain into the loudest strike the company ever heard. Have you ever met someone who reminded you, "You're not alone in the hurt? Tell me, we've got your back." You can tell a lot about a man by how he holds his pain. Some drink it, some yell it, and some hold it like a brick in the chest, pretending it's not there. That was Herbert Chandler. Scarlett set up the meeting. We met at a quiet diner off the interstate, the kind where they still refill your coffee without asking. He wore a beige windbreaker and ball cap that said U.S. Navy retired. Soft voice, polite handshake. He didn't talk much at first, just stared at the sugar packets like they held the answers. Then he said, "She used to pack me lunch every morning. Now she comes home smelling like cologne I don't wear. I didn't say a word, just nodded. I knew that feeling all too well. Herbert's wife worked right next to Linda, same floor, same schedule, and same man. Eric. It was like hearing my story on someone else's lips. Only this time, Herbert had kids, 2 grandkids who visited on weekends, and he wasn't just losing a wife. He was losing the glue that held his family routine together. I could see the fear in his eyes. Not anger, fear of being replaced, forgotten, laughed at. I told him they picked the wrong men. Then I slid my phone across the table and played him the hotel footage. His hands trembled as he watched. By the end, he looked up and said, "What do we do now?" That was the moment it stopped being just about me. It became us. 2 men, 2 homes wrecked by the same smooth-talking parasite. And one hell of a woman, Scarlett, ready to burn it all down legally. We weren't victims anymore. We were witnesses. We were fire. Coming up, you'll see how we took this private pain and brought it straight to the heart of the company. Ever met a stranger who felt like a brother in battle? Share it below. I'll be reading every word. You ever watch a man build a trap while smiling in your face? That was me for the next 3 weeks. See, I wasn't just planning a divorce anymore. I was learning how to hurt him where he'd never see it coming. In the place he felt most untouchable. Work. Turns out the company Linda and Eric worked for, Summit Point Properties, private real estate investment firm. I'd done business with them years ago, back when I still wore a suit every day. Even better, one of my old clients now sat on their board. So I called him, told him I was looking for investment opportunities. Said I wanted to diversify my retirement holdings. We met at a country club just outside New Haven. Over black coffee and a quiet table, I asked about the company. He said, "We're restructuring the upper management. Middle layers are sloppy, too many distractions." I leaned in. "You want loyalty? Bring me in as an advisor. I'll clean house in 6 months." By week's end, I had a non-executive advisor role. No press release, no photo ops. Just a quiet signature on a dotted line, and access. I reviewed HR files, performance reviews, office camera logs, and yes, internal complaints. 3 involving Eric, none followed up. It was worse than I thought. Scarlett said, "They don't just have a cheating problem, they've got a liability problem." And suddenly, I wasn't just the angry husband. I was a legal threat with teeth. All I had to do was wait for the perfect moment to strike. Let the board see him for what he was. Let Linda see me, not as the man she left, but as the man she should have stayed with. Next, I'll tell you about the night it all blew up. The party, the footage, and the moment I walked in. And the room went silent. You ever turn pain into power without saying a word? Let's talk. Every company has that one night. Fancy suits, top-shelf liquor, soft jazz in the background. The kind of event where masks stay on but drinks loosen lips. Summit Point's annual gala was held at a private club. Oak floors, marble bar, rooftop view of downtown Boston. I didn't belong there. But I showed up anyway, invited and unannounced. I wore a dark gray suit, no tie, just calm confidence and a plan tucked in my inside pocket. Linda didn't see me walk in. She was across the room laughing with coworkers. Eric stood next to her, his hand a little too familiar on her back. People moved like dancers, clinking glasses, shaking hands. But all I saw was him and the 7-second clip in my phone. Scarlett stood nearby, dressed in black. She nodded once. That was the signal. The lights dimmed. A presentation started. End-of-year highlights, boring numbers. Then halfway through, the projector blinked. And there it was. The video, room 418. Linda in red, Eric smiling like he owned the world. The room froze, whispers, gasps. Someone dropped a glass. Then I stepped forward, slow and steady, like I'd practiced it. Seems like some files got mixed up, I said calmly. All eyes turned to me, even Linda's. She didn't speak, didn't move. Her face drained of color. Eric stepped forward, red in the face. "Turn that off!" he barked. Too late. Everyone had seen it, more than once. I looked straight at the CEO. "Do your employees always use company time like this?" He didn't answer, but I could see it in his eyes. This wasn't just a scandal. This was exposure. Next, I'll tell you what happened after the video ended, and why Eric's world came crashing down before he even left the party. Ever seen a liar get caught on the biggest stage possible? Tell me. I know you've got stories. After the gala, things moved fast. Not for me, but for them. Monday morning, Eric didn't show up at work. By noon, Summit Point's inbox was flooded with HR complaints. Some new, some reopened. Scarlett was already ahead of it. She filed 2 legal notices. One was my divorce paperwork, the other, a class action liability claim against the company. See, this wasn't just about cheating. It was about negligence. Scarlett dug into the company's records. There were 3 unresolved complaints against Eric, 2 from women, 1 from a male employee who said Eric used sexual power dynamics to control project promotions. Summit Point had ignored all of them, until now. The legal letters hit hard. So did the press. Scarlett made sure of that. Within a week, the story was in the Boston Herald. Headline: Culture of silence at Summit Point. Internal romance sparks legal firestorm. Linda was asked to take a leave of absence. Eric placed under investigatory review. I wasn't done. With the help of Herbert and 2 other men Scarlett had tracked down, we built a case that went beyond HR. This was corporate culture, and we had receipts. Meanwhile, the house I once called home, it went on the market. Linda tried to stop it, tried to talk things out. But I'd already signed the papers, no alimony, no settlement. Everything was split by the book, nothing more, nothing less. I told her, "You planned your fun like a professional, so now we handle your exit the same way." She didn't argue. She just nodded, packed a bag, and left the spare key on the counter. For the first time in weeks, my house felt quiet. But it wasn't empty, it was clean, free, clear. Next up, I'll share the part most men don't talk about. What comes after justice when you're alone again, and the phone rings. Have you ever walked away, but still heard their voice in your head? Let's talk about that. The night the house finally went quiet, I sat in my recliner, bourbon in hand, watching an old football game I didn't care about. Then came the knock. I thought maybe it was a neighbor, maybe someone dropping off a package. But when I opened the door, it was Linda, hair pulled back, no makeup, eyes swollen. She held a folder in one hand and her heart in the other. "I'm not here to beg," she said softly. "I just needed to hand you this." It was a list. Every woman Eric had flirted with. Every name, every message, every incident she'd seen or heard in the office. Some had husbands, some didn't. Some had already divorced. And on the last page, she'd written, "I know I hurt you. This is what I can give back." I didn't invite her in, but I didn't shut the door either. She looked past me, toward the hallway we used to walk down together. "Do you ever think about what we had?" she asked. I took a breath. Every day. But thinking about it isn't the same as trusting it again. She nodded slowly. "I understand. Just, if you ever want to talk, I'll be around." She turned to leave, but just before she stepped off the porch, I said, Linda, why him? She paused, didn't turn around, just said, he made me feel wanted when I felt invisible. But he never made me feel safe. You did. Then she walked off into the night, the door closed behind her. But something stayed open in my chest. In the next part, I'll tell you about what happened when the one woman I thought was gone showed up again. This time, not with an apology, but with a second chance. You ever feel torn between your dignity and the person who once made you whole? Let's talk. A year had passed. The lawsuits were winding down. My house was quieter than ever. And for the first time in months, I wasn't angry, I was just tired. Then one afternoon, I got a text. If you're open to it, would you meet me? Just to talk, I'll bring your favorite. Linda, I didn't reply right away. But 2 days later, I found myself walking toward the same park bench we used to sit on every fall. She was already there, wearing a soft blue sweater and holding 2 coffees. When I sat down, she handed me one without a word. The smell, hazelnut and just a little cream, took me back further than I expected. For a few minutes, we didn't talk, just listened to the birds, and the wind moving through leaves. Then she broke the silence. I've been thinking a lot about us, about what I broke, and what might still be there. I didn't say much, just looked at her and asked, why now? She paused. Because I've seen what life looks like without you. And honestly, I don't want to keep living that version. Her voice didn't crack, her eyes didn't beg. She wasn't pleading, she was being real. I'm not asking for marriage or promises, just maybe a fresh start, as 2 people who've been through hell and still found their way back here. I sipped my coffee, felt the warmth go down deep, then I said, we won't be the same, but maybe we don't have to be. And right then, she reached over, touched my hand, and smiled. Not the old smile, a quieter one. One that said, I'm not perfect, but I'm still here. Up next is the part most folks forget. What it means to rebuild slowly, honestly, without pretending the cracks never happened. Ever tried giving someone a second chance and found yourself healing too? Let's talk about that. They say time heals all wounds. I don't know if that's true. Some wounds don't heal. They just stop bleeding. But what I've learned is this: you can survive betrayal and still choose peace. Linda and I didn't just move on. We moved differently, with care, with hesitation, but also with honesty neither of us had before. There were days we couldn't look each other in the eye. There were nights we talked until the coffee went cold, and yes, we stumbled. But we kept showing up, not because love makes everything easy, but because we remembered what it cost to lose each other. I used to think strength meant walking away first, that holding on to pride meant I'd never look weak. But I was wrong. Real strength isn't leaving first. It's standing still long enough to see if something real is still there. If you're a man like me, over 60, tired of games and just want peace, let me tell you, it's okay to want love again. It's okay to protect your dignity, and it's okay to forgive if the person is truly willing to rebuild. But whatever you choose the version of you that you can respect, because when the noise fades and the phone stops buzzing and the house gets quiet again, you'll be left with one thing: the man in the mirror. Make sure he can sleep at night. If this story hit close to home, leave a comment. You don't have to explain everything, just say, I understand. That's enough. I'll be reading. And if you're still here, there's more to come. Because some stories, they don't end. They evolve.